Here's the most exciting part about the Pixel 4a. $349. $349. I love it. The magical mixture is just something that's tantalizing to me, and it gets me going, to be quite honest with you. It finally happened. Google came through. The Pixel 4a has landed in the Unbox Therapy studio. What a time. I'm very excited. You know, I've been a Pixel guy. I've used the Pixel phone dating back to the original one. I got a bunch of them lined up over there. Actually, those are the most recent ones. Pixel 4. Kirk's using his phone right now. All right, so that tells you something. Been a popular choice in the studio. You know, I said to you many times that I like the Pixel camera aesthetic. A lot of it has to do just with the camera application, the software side. But whatever it is, the magical mixture is just something that's tantalizing to me, and it gets me going, to be quite honest with you. The software, the stock Android experience, the experience that Google intended for Android in 2020, that's baked into here as well. And here's the most exciting part about the Pixel 4a. $349. $349. I love it. More people getting to experience this experience, more people getting their hands on the goods, and more options and more exciting products at different price points. It doesn't have to be $1,000 to have a good time, and I like that. This is going to go head-to-head with devices like the iPhone SE, the new one. In fact, I've been reading and looking at a number of comparisons of those two devices, aiming at the same segment within the marketplace, but taking different approaches. Anyway, on the table here, I have the Pixel 4a in the just black color. This is a 5.8-inch device, 128 GB of storage. This is in the just black color. Speaking of just black, you know, I like to wear just black. Black. I like plain clothes. I like basic clothes, but I like premium basic clothes. So I want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, Built Basics. They make all the shirts that you see me wearing here on this channel. I've got a promo code so you can step up your basic clothing game as well. You can stick a bunch of these in your drawer, and you don't even have to think about what you're gonna wear that day. I just have a tremendous number. I reach, it's high quality fabrics, high quality materials, durable, and it doesn't look like trash after you wash it a bunch of times. So go check that out. Just Black. The name made me think of that. The name made me remember. We have that. We have the Pixel Buds, which this one, it also took a while to get here. So you may have seen some videos about it, but you know I want to give my feedback on that. This is competitive with the Apple AirPods and the various Galaxy products. Well, they got a new one. They got the Buds Live, which I think Samsung's going to get to the studio, so that's going to be nice to compare. We also have the Pixel 4a. I guess that's the official case. They've been doing this fabric thing for a while. You know my style. It's more on the later case side with the nice texture here, the impossibly thin case. So you know I had to do it for the Pixel 4a as well. Had to bring it into the later case family. So you can buy this right now on pre-order. I'll link that in the description also. So lots of good stuff to look at here. We're going to kick it off with the main unit, obviously. This is the Pixel 4a unboxing experience. Team Pixel on the back. You got the two little pull tabs. I'll give you some pull tab therapy. I hope you heard it. High quality sound effects. Lovely. All right, we lift up. And boom. There it is. Now, it's important to note, this is a budget-minded, a value-conscious device. So you're going to have a plastic back, a plastic chassis. Some people don't mind. They say, hey, what if I drop my phone on the back? Wait. Yes. So some people, you know, they say, look, I don't mind if I have a plastic back. When I drop it, I don't have to worry about shattering the back. But there is such a wide variety of plastic, the way that plastic is implemented in smartphones. Yesterday, was it? I was talking about the Note 20, how the plastic back, it felt a little bit cheap. This one, on the plastic meter, I hear a little click to it, but it's a more solid thud. So the gap between the plastic and the components on the inside appears to be less than the Note 20, so you could live with it. Also, the color of it, it can fool you at a certain, you know, if you're using this thing on a daily basis, you're probably gonna forget that it's plastic. That said, you slap this on, check you out now. Who's kidding who? You see what I'm saying? Now, you actually line up the fingerprint better because you feel exactly where it is. You get the beautiful texture. So that's the way I'm gonna go. But that said, it's not the end of the world, a plastic phone at $349. The Note 20 took a lot of heat because it isn't at $349. It's at $1,000. And so that's why people's expectations were different. Another thing to notice here, of course, is that rear fingerprint scanner. It's kind of interesting the way that it's outlined here. It's part of the back of the unit, so there's no real large ring around it. Instead, it's just this little depressed section. Here is your camera module, supposedly the same performance as the Pixel 4, which is fine with me if that's actually what it turns out to do, because like I said, the cost savings, Pixel 4 and 4 XL, those were more expensive devices. I used the 4 XL as my personal device for a very long time. We still have the stylized power switch, which they give one special color to. I believe this is, yeah, it was orange or like a coral on the XL model. The standard version last time around, it has the exact same, or no, that's white. So anyways, they're always playing around trying to give a little bit of style, especially to a basic phone, a just black phone. You have the volume rocker below there. Oh, another thing I should mention, this has a headphone jack on it, which is, it's kind of a must on a budget device because the expectation there, you spend $349 on the phone, maybe you got a wired headset kicking around, and it's a little harder to go splurge on the Pixel Buds or some AirPods or something like that when you've got the $349 budget. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's a nice little touch and consideration for the fact that you picked a budget phone and you may still need to be using a wired headphone. And you know, the way I think of this is it's just a bonus either way. If you can fit it in there, sure, why not? SIM card tray is in an unusual location over here. It's towards the bottom of the device. And then on the bottom here, on the very bottom, it looks like we have our speaker grill and also our Type-C connector for the fast charge. It's not the fastest charge in the world. I believe it's 18 watt. Kirk will correct me in the edit right here if it's different from 18 watt, but I think it's an 18 watt fast charge in there. Oh, and the other big difference is on the front of the unit where the hole punch is. We now have a hole punch cutout on a Pixel device. So they've abandoned the notch situation there. We had the really advanced face unlock going on. We had the radar in there. They're simplifying it. And especially for this model with the $349 price tag, it's not the most aggressive screen to body ratio. You definitely have a bezel around the outside, but these are the things you put up with in exchange for the savings. This is a value for money play, and I actually think it's a really smart play for Google and Apple for that matter. We have a very unique world circumstance here in 2020. People aren't exactly out there splurging in general on smartphones or otherwise. People want value for money, and that's the aim here, and I appreciate that aim. Also inside the package, we've got a little bit of paperwork from Google. You have your SIM tool over on the back here. We have a Type-C cable, followed by a little adapter here, which I believe is gonna be Type A to Type-C. Yes, it is. So this can be used for migration from another device to this one. And here's the power brick. It's definitely some form of quick charge in there. Look at this, it's a nice little setup on here. And I mean, we have the gradient background. It's so simple, isn't it? The Pixel life. In the Android world, it's very simple. You don't have the bloat unless you consider Google's apps, but it's hard to consider Google's apps bloat because they make the OS. And these are all applications that I use. Google Podcasts, YouTube Music. It does to a point. Look how it's also quite snappy here. So what do we have? Do we have a 90 hertz display on this? At this price point? Is that, did they give us that? The display is 60 hertz, but it's an OLED panel at this price, which is, I mean, that's probably the biggest difference on the daily basis. If you were to compare this Pixel 4a to this guy over here, this is the iPhone SE, which, as you can tell, the displays, there's quite a discrepancy there. I don't know how well this shows up for you, but because of this older design here, it's just, the display feels like it's further beneath the glass, and you have the different technologies at play, and then just the screen to body ratio as well. Not every buyer cares about this. Some are going to sit there and say, well, you have a 700 series Snapdragon, you have the flagship chip from Apple in the SE. So yeah, that's completely correct. And the camera thing is kind of a coin flip, depending on who's processing and which application you like better. I tend towards the Pixels, doing cooler color temperatures and higher contrast, which is, well, that's just to my taste buds pretty frequently. Here you have USB Type-C. This is the proprietary connector. So you have a bigger battery over here as well. These are, you know, these are things to consider if you're actually weighing these two options. But form factor wise, even though this display is much larger, you know, in the hand, it's fairly comparable between the two. Also, I should mention, this is the cheaper unit of the two. This is gonna save you 50 extra bucks. With 3140 milliamp hour battery in here, and the 700 series Snapdragon is usually pretty power efficient. So, I mean, I can't say for certain, I just got the phone, but presumably it's better than the Pixel 4, which is, well, that's not really hard to say. Pixel 4 is probably the main drawback, was the battery life. Snapdragon 730, 6 gigabytes of RAM, 128 GB of storage. Oh yeah, and the Pixel gives you the headphone jack. You do not have Apple's ecosystem, but you do have a headphone jack. And like I said, I think that's a big deal at this price point. Okay, so some things I'm curious about on here outside of the camera, which I'm definitely gonna get to. I'm curious about the speaker performance. Oftentimes on a budget phone, you take a little hit in the speaker performance. So let's load up a YouTube video. We get some dialogue rolling first. I'll load up the latest episode of Lou later.
You didn't know that was such a thing. But everybody wants an ecosystem. Apple's got an ecosystem. Because once it's an ecosystem, you see, you need all the pieces. You got to catch them all. You see how that goes?
Yeah.
And so Samsung in their press release are talking Ultra taking the
Wow, so you have a stereo thing happening. You have some high end coming out of the earpiece location, and you have some low end on the bottom. The speaker, I'm pretty happy with. It's not the loudest thing I've ever heard. It's not as loud as the Note 20 Ultra from the last video, but like...
Oh, you've got the Z Flip 2, not Flip, Fold.
It's not crunchy.
See, I gotta keep my Z's together now. Yeah. Z Fold 2, but that's not it. I want you to scroll down a little bit here.
I like the audio on this. This is very clear. And it's full. It's fuller than I would have expected. Oh, also this gives you an idea when you're zoomed into the frame, just to get an idea of how much screen you're getting in the body and then what the hole punch looks like. This is not a massive distraction over here. Now, we might as well, since I have the SE over here, we might as well just load YouTube, because I can't recall how this compares, the audio that is.
Yeah, you didn't know.
Oh, I was trying to make it I was trying to make it bigger, because I'm so used to phones not having a chin and forehead like this in 2020. I was like, oh yeah, I'll just span it out to, but no, that's actually the size of your video. It's quite a substantial difference. If you're going to use this thing as a multimedia machine, I think it's important to note in this particular comparison, even if you have all the horsepower in the world, your video is just, it's a small video. It's a small phone, a small screen considering the scale of the phone, because it's got the antiquated design. And you know, this is where waiting for the iPhone 12, although it'll be at a higher price point, you will finally be able to get an iPhone with a small form factor that has a more modern screen to body ratio. And I talked about it in a recent video, the small iPhone 12. You can go check that out and see how it compares. But anyways,
ecosystem.
Audio.
It's got an ecosystem. You know what? I'll take an ecosystem. Makes it sound big. Makes it sound grand. And it also makes it sound like you should spend a few dollars so you can take.
So this also sort of exposes the brightness, the viewing angles. It's pretty obvious. I mean, you make up your own mind. You see it in the camera there. And now I'll turn this one back up.
So it's sucking more energy.
It really makes me question my life.
Yeah.
They're pretty comparable. I'd probably give a slight edge to this guy, but they're pretty comparable. It's hard for you to know. The microphone is right there, but it's not a massive difference between the two. Let's jump into the cameras. Obviously, I mean, this is a huge area of focus for smartphones in general. This is the differentiating characteristic. This is the reason you might select this phone over some other competitive phone in the same price bracket. It's an area where Google has had an edge. So I'll bring over the trusty plant. I'll back it up, and we are going to snap just at the stock 1x. No big deal, nothing fancy. Just a quick little snap. And I can see the magic happening. It's doing the work. It's such a brain. The Pixel camera app is such a brain. It takes the thinking out of taking a photo. I still don't feel that I've interacted with the camera where I just point and shoot and often get results that are pleasing to my eye. Now, I've done the extensive analysis. It's true that Apple's software tends to elevate the shadow areas and provide a little bit more detail there. This is mostly in the software, and what is pleasing to a person is dependent on the individual. However, by Google selecting more for contrast and deeper blacks, I end up with a photo that is more pleasing to me without me needing to go in and edit it. Of course, you can still do that. I just like what happens with the Pixel straight out of the camera. Selfies, it's kind of the same thing. I don't get all softened up. There's detail. And it's incredible. It's, what can I say? Google, engineering. This is one area where the Apple devices make me look really weird. I'll show you what I'm talking about. It makes me look super flat for some reason. I'll do the exact same location. Like somehow my skin, it's like I'm wearing makeup. It makes it look like I'm wearing makeup. I've been talking about this for a number of generations, but like look at the color of my eyes, for example. And my beard, the whole thing just looks way softer and less sharpened, like less contrasty. It tries to sort of flatten the complexion and ease the gradient between darks and lights. And you could argue this photo has more detail. You could argue that if you went into a photo editor, you'd have more play with the iPhone photo, and it's probably true. But I don't, oftentimes I just want to point, shoot, and then publish a photo or send or share a photo and not do too much to it. And that's where the Pixel camera and mostly the software determines that through its style choices and how it treats the environment, almost like a filter or something, I end up with something that to me is more pleasing and that I would want to share right away. So that's, again, it's personal preference. It's not better or worse, it's personal preference. So there's also a night sight mode built in, and then on video, let's see what we have for options here. I don't think we have any type of exotic video settings. We do have 4K. We are now testing 4K video on the Google Pixel 4a. I am moving into the plant, and we are testing the autofocus. I'm moving back. I will lift my hand up. Oh, baby. Yes. 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 That looks pretty good. Increasingly, smartphones are getting better at those autofocus transitions, but I have run into problems in the past. It doesn't look like that's going to happen here. 4K video on the Google Pixel 4a. I am moving in. It sounds good. It does sound good. Yes. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, we're onto something. It's a nice time to be in the smartphone market. It's a nice time to be looking for a new smartphone. Every time I get my hands on a budget smartphone, that like this one, where I feel like, okay, that right there is a good value, and I do feel that way here, it makes me it reconfigures me. I have a really hard time in these moments recommending the far more expensive smartphones. You can go out right now and easily find a smartphone that's 3 times the cost of this. It's not even hard. But is it 3 times better? It used to be the camera department was the big differentiator. Of course, the chip is not going to be the fastest in the world, but for me on the daily, what I do on a phone, you know what I mean? It was never a big issue for me, the rear unlock. I can live with that. I start to think to myself, yeah, probably more people would be better off with this phone, and then potentially having money left over for a couple other things, maybe some Pixel Buds, maybe a later case to spruce it up a little bit. You got some money left over. You're not spending a fortune. Maybe you want to think about it, Kirk. You could pick up that new PlayStation 5 and this, or you could get, a flagship iPhone or Samsung. I'm just saying, I like to put it in that context to just help people realize what type of value is out there. I'm super happy that Google's really making a play at the value segment, which is, I think, where the majority of their focus should be. The flagship thing, it's pretty well figured out. You know, it's Apple, it's Samsung, and we know how that goes. It's a lot of glass. It's always glass everywhere when you spend $1,000, unless it's the Note 20. But anyways, okay, so let's put this down for a minute. Let's try the official case. Since we do have it, I think we might as well. So it's a fabric style case. My issue with these was if you put this down on a table and it had any type of moisture or something, this is absorbent. However, it does give you a kind of like a luxury. You're just not used to feeling this type of texture, like a fabric texture on your phone. But then it also makes your phone kind of big, which, I mean, I don't know if you heard, I'm kind of against the idea of that. So, but it gives you a cutout for your headphone jack. It gives you the space you need on the bottom. And because it juts out a little bit, it's more likely to save your device in the case of a fall. So that's the official Google case. I don't know if this is the only one they're offering, but in the past they've had a couple different models. It does have a nice kind of liner in it. It smells like the Gap. It smells like the Gap. We have the Pixel Buds, which that's an important one for us to check out. I think this could be a nice little package. What's the price of the Pixel Buds? Kirk's gonna guess.
I'm gonna guess $199.
$199 for Pixel Buds. Pixel Buds price USD $179. What did you say?
$199.
You were off. So anyway, we have the Pixel Buds here, and I'm excited to try these out as well. You got the dental floss style of case going on in there, although you can also switch that one up if you want a more stylish or cohesive look. We started making the later case for the AirPods Pro, and then it was like, what about the Android people? This is completely rude having done this. So we talked about it and we're like, I don't know how many people are gonna, on the Android side, are gonna come out and support, but who cares? We're gonna do it for the Pixel Buds as well. And so that you can have kind of this setup right here, just like that. So that's pretty cool. I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of excited about that. This is another pair that I think it's gonna be, a common pair for people. They're gonna pick up this device. You could pick up some Pixel Buds and still be less than the flagship level. Inside the pack, we've also got interchangeable ear tips. That's a big one. Get the right fit, then you get the right sound. And we also have a Type-C cable, which is actually a little longer than you might expect to get with a set of earbuds. Sometimes they sneak in a little short one. Now, of course, we've got to get our unwrap on, and where am I going to do such a thing? Oh, don't miss the flap. There we go. All right, so what's odd about this one actually is that the interior and the buds are black, and I think a lot of Android fans probably wanted black earbuds. People have been asking Apple to do a black pair of AirPods for 1 billion years, but these ones are still majorly white. I guess they do make them in a couple different colors. Yeah, there's oh so orange, quite mint, and almost black. So they're even the black one though. This is another thing to consider. Even the black one keeps the white container, which is kind of strange. You would think you would do the white, you would do the black container or case, recharge case. Why am I calling that a container? You know what I mean? That's weird. I don't even know the last time I used the word container. But even if you get the black earbuds, you get the white case, which is kind of odd. But anyways.
So you're saying the only way to get a black case is?
Yeah, I'm saying the only way to get a black case is to do a later case, which you should have done in the first place because you're a smart person, right? Anyways, let's see how these ones work together. I'm curious how integrated the whole thing is. I mean, I haven't used it, right? So is this, are we gonna have an Apple moment here? We are gonna have an Apple moment. It's just, that's all it is. That's all there is to it. And this is what people expect now. The OnePlus product from the previous video, whatever they're calling theirs. What are their pods called? OnePlus Buds? OnePlus Buds? It's hard to keep it together in this business, ladies and gentlemen. It's every single day we're doing this, and it's another product. I like them too, and they were only 79 bucks. The OnePlus Buds, of course it's the OnePlus Buds. But anyways, those are the budget play at 79. These are slightly more premium, but as you see, you get the nice little prompt for the Pixel Buds and the hefty integration, so you can have your own ecosystem moment where you feel very special for having the cohesion between the two. Set up Pixel Buds. You have your battery life on the case and on each bud. And we're going to go ahead and start the setup. And I will rotate it into place. Lovely. And it made a little kind of cool sound when I did that, to indicate that it was in there. Next. Oh, and it's a gentle, Kirk, they thought about it. It's a gentle, what you'll see is when I go down, it's not a huge, I have a lot of flexibility in there for the exact volume that I'm looking for. I know that's a big deal to you, Kirk. You're very happy about that. Also, play pause. Double tap for skipping tracks or ending and rejecting calls. Okay, double tap. So the touch is pretty good. Lovely. You know, we got the light on there. This is all the things you want, especially if you're going to spend $179. You know what's a crazy thought, though? $179, $349. The whole phone is $349. These guys are $179, so. But it goes to show you. Dual microphones for clear calls. In-ear detection, so the audio pauses if you remove the bud. Very nice. Comfortable and secure with the extra ear hook, so you're not, you know, you're doing the physical activities and it stays in. And of course, Google Assistant, which is the only voice assistant that I use. Very integrated. Let's get some tunes going, I suppose. I'll do some muted jazz here. Look at that. I mean, you got the old Ferrari plus the shades, and then you do the shirt all the way up, and then you have the trumpet. So, oh man, that's some muted jazz. Okay, that's actually pretty nice. Now, I should jump into something with some bass. People need to know about bass. There's no way around that, Kirk. Do you have a bass request? No, you don't.
Bass nectar.
Bass nectar. Let me tell you something. There's a point where any headphone that is just sitting deeper in your ear canal is just more capable, particularly in the low end, in a bass response, comparative to something that just sort of sits, you know, on the outside of the ear, like a regular AirPod or even the OnePlus Buds. I like how convenient those ones are because it's just a little bit less of a hassle kind of getting it out of the ears. It's really not a big deal, but it's a little bit less. But there's just no substitute because you create a seal in the ear canal. You could create more pressure inside of there, and then that thump comes through. So if you're a bass head, you probably already know this, but you're probably looking at something like these Pixel Buds or maybe the AirPods Pro, which are the Apple equivalent of the in-ear style. So some options there. I think they sound all right. I think they sound pretty good. You know, look, this is an obvious and easy choice for somebody on the Pixel because of the integration and having the whole package kind of come together. Maybe more so for the flagship level Pixel because of the price point. But that said, you could look at it the other way, like I did earlier, and just say, yo, I'm fine with the 4A. It's got everything I need, and I have money left over. So then you could pick up a pair of these buds to go with it. You could create a nice little combo effect if you choose to. What can I say about this phone? Man, vanilla Android. Enough power for me. OLED for the price. Decent screen to body, at least modern with the hole punch thing. Never minded the rear fingerprint. You know about the camera. I don't need to tell you. Camera, Pixel camera, been talking about it. A little bit of a fast recharge, made out of plastic. 700 series Snapdragon. I think I might have just done the pros and cons simply by adjusting my tone. You see, I didn't have to even announce it. So it's not going to win any spec awards, and it's up to you to determine to a certain extent what that G is worth if you want the vanilla Android experience. It does come with some advantages, including getting the latest software features as they roll out, as they become available, instead of waiting for the manufacturer to pump theirs out, if they even will. When I'm talking about manufacturer, I mean Samsung, I mean Xiaomi, I mean the others, I mean everything else, I mean the Oppos. I even mean the OnePlus to a certain extent, because you know this thing is squarely looking at the Nord as well. Another 700 series based smartphone. So it's even a little more pricey than this. And I don't know if you want to do a head-to-head on the camera. I'm just saying. Now, granted, there's other differences. That one, it's got a slightly better spec list. The Nord I'm talking about. The feel, more premium, I would say. This might be a little subdued for some users. But all that aside, I think I can safely say I'm pumped for this device. I'm pumped that it exists. It has fully gotten me going. And as you can probably tell in this video right here, there's something about the combination of a low price tag with an experience that for me is similar to what I'm already having on something that's a lot more expensive. And trust me, I tried it all. I try everything, right? I think you could be using this phone and feeling like you're using a far more expensive phone, even though you only spent $349. So shout out to Google for getting the price down as low as they did. I don't know how that breaks down. Whatever market you're in, it may not be as competitive, but at least here in North America, this thing for $349, I think is worth a look.